Thank you, Heli. I would like to thank the organizers for this opportunity. I'm very grateful to be here. As you have seen from the program, there are really many Finnish organizations, public, non-governmental, who are organizing this seminar. And I would like to start with a little bit of personal background to this all. In my professorship, I've been working mostly from the perspective of farming, from crop production, and then through my students I have been learning enormously. And to mention one of the big persons, the characters who has really from whom I have really learned much, he is Kimmo Härjämäki in this photo. We have also his photographic exhibition here in these 2 days. So I'm grateful to Kimmo, the late Kimmo, for bringing me into these circles, so to say. He was the pioneer among us in working for traditional rural biotopes. Which way I should press? Näytän vielä se, miten se. Kyllä se varmaan toimii, mutta onko se mun kädessä väärin? Nyt, okay. Okay. So I titled my presentation. I have quite many slides. I hope I don't exceed, or I'm trying not to. Maybe the chair takes care that I don't exceed my time. I titled it Towards Sustainable Land Sharing. You must all have heard about this, or are aware of this debate on land sharing versus land sparing. And along the theme of this seminar, it is allowed to touch nature. I'm in favor of the idea of land sharing, and I will explain why. And I think that this might serve as kind of a broader framing for the 2 days to come. This very nice illustration, I really love this one. I got permission from Rural Women's Advisory Organization to use this. This organization is one of the organizers of this seminar as well. So this is our ideal view on diverse, also biodiverse, diverse landscape, diverse in terms of land use, connecting us as human beings to the landscape in a nice way. But this is not the whole picture of what our use of landscapes is about. The other half is that what we derive, what we use our landscapes for, is structured nowadays this way. People, the vast majority of European people, and generally in industrialized and Western countries, are living, even in developing countries, are living in cities. So increasing majority, by far the biggest majority of people, do not anymore have this connection to nature. And in a few slides I try to argue for the need to reconnect in order to achieve the goals of sustainable management. I will mention 2 of the very generic frameworks which are framing the work that we do to conserve species, to find the sustainable ways of touching the nature. And one of those, of course, is this very famous planetary boundaries concept. And if you look at those ones in these sectors that the scientists as far as they ever can agree that the humankind has already exceeded the boundaries. They include this what is called biosphere integrity. That's the functional diversity of species and genetic diversity. Well, the functional diversity, there's a question mark, because we are of course afraid when losing biological diversity that the systems gradually lose their functionings, and maybe there are tipping points when it's very difficult to restore the functions that sustain life and sustain the functions that we depend on ourselves. And also linked to our land use are these other two, very much linked to agriculture, phosphorus and nitrogen cycling. Another very essential framework, which is also nowadays framing our work, is ecosystem services approach. And this version of presenting what it is about deals with use of agricultural landscapes. And why I wanted this version here is that it doesn't only look at fields and agroecosystems in the narrow sense of cropping systems, but it also includes the landscape context, which is I know that you also or generally the people who work with biodiversity issues and conservation are very, very aware of the landscape context. So these are the frameworks which are politically quite well recognized also, and useful, at least when they become replaced by something else. So if we look at this example is from agriculture. I'm an agricultural scientist, but of course forestry sector is also using the landscape, using the ecosystems in an analogical way. Now, if we look at the food system, it is considered as a supply chain. It is the usual presentation is a chain, or this kind of a vertical presentation that we also know that the buying desks, the few buying desks, are really governing this functioning of this chain, and determining the demand that is down to farmers, the demand to produce certain commodities. And the farmers are very far away in this chain, distanced away from the consumers who they ultimately serve in producing food. And one of the ideas that I propose is that we need to reconnect the consumers in some way or another back to the ecosystems. That of course means the farmers, the forest owners, in new ways, in order to let them understand, the urbanized majority to understand their own dependence on ecosystem services. So this chain presentation, which is governing the food policies, governing the CAP, governing our thinking, is very vertical. It does not have horizontal dimension. It doesn't have landscape dimension. But reading the document that was referenced in the previous slide, and thanking them for clearly formulating this, I found that it is a very valid idea that this thinking, vertical thinking, should be complemented with horizontal thinking. And if we do this properly, it will result in complete redesign of the social technical system that we are currently having. And this horizontal dimension actually makes it explicit that the whole system, illustrated as a chain, is dependent on something that is in the landscapes. It's the ecology, the ecosystems, the landscape, but as well it is the rural livelihoods, the homes for people and the communities for the people. Also, maybe what I believe in is that maybe the cities, that how we see them now, are kind of relics of the fossil era, and we may see a sustainable return to rural communities. Along with the emerging bioeconomies, along with the renewal of the energy systems, not just food. So these colleagues who wrote, who actually also nature conservationists, wrote this document, they proposed that there is a need of system redesign. They state that in order to make the needed shift in the social technical regime, not just environmental, agricultural, forest policies, but a covering range of policies must be reformed. And this list includes what they propose, at least what policies need to be integrated for this more holistic systems view of us, the relationship of us human beings and our society to the what we have used to call nature. And one of the, to me personally, an integrating concept which provides a possibility to find solution to relinking is this very basic elementary school biology idea of an ecosystem, the biological ecosystem. And following that idea, we may ask, do we belong to the farmland ecosystems? Do we belong to those ecosystems from which we use the products, or in ecosystem services framing, from which we derive the production services? And of course, I would say that yes, we belong, and this is very fundamental idea if we think of the now very distanced majority of people distanced from the origins of food, from the origins of ecosystem products in the cities, that they could regain this understanding of belonging to the ecosystem. So the question might be, as a practical example for relinking, as a kind of a holistic policy challenge, we could think that we could first of all ask, how does the human crop ecosystem recycle now? And if you think of this vertical organization of the food system, it doesn't recycle. I mean, nutrients, one of the key functions in ecosystems. So we might want to think how to reorganize it to recycle. And could external costs, ignoring the geography, the horizontal dimension, the landscape dimension, could it be internalized, or these costs be internalized by forcing nutrient recycling, by saying that it is unsustainable if nutrients are not returned to the very ecosystems they are taken from? And these ideas lead to a new emerging concept of food systems, which could be called local food cycles or circular food systems, which is much more also along the lines of thinking of communities and in the landscapes. We have this one example in Finland, a case example where there is a pilot, a few farms, a food food industry, in this case bakery, an egg-laying hens farm, which recycle, are fully self-sufficient with bioenergy, are able to sell to their customers also bioenergy for cars, for example, and so on, and aim to restore the diversity of the landscape and and serve the conservation values as well. This is in Palopuro. The presenters yesterday, we had an opportunity to listen Ilkka Herlin in Kuitia, and in Kuitia farm they also had very much along these lines a pilot going on and being developed. So these were my ideas. What would you think about these? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Juha, for your very insightful presentation. So we have a couple of minutes for the questions or comments, and please, before you give us your question or comment, present yourself and your organization, please. Okay, no comments at the moment, so perhaps we can continue and then we can all go and talk to Juha on the coffee break. Thank you.
Thank you.